Look at this shit. Okay. So, I want to talk about, this article will give me the opportunity to talk about multiple different things. So the DEA warns of brightly colored fentanyl, quote, used to target young Americans. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration issued a warning Tuesday about brightly colored fentanyl used to target young Americans. The agency said it and its partners in law enforcement seized colored fentanyl and fentanyl pills in 18 states this month. Quote, the trend appears to be a new method used by drug cartels to sell highly addictive and potentially deadly fentanyl made to look like candy to children and young people. The DEA said brightly colored fentanyl is being seized in multiple forms, including pills, powder, and blocks that resemble sidewalk chalk. Despite claims that certain colors may be more potent than others, there is no indication through the DEA's laboratory testing that this is the case. Every color, shape, and size of fentanyl should be considered extremely dangerous. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid intended to help people, such as cancer patients, manage severe pain. It is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine. It's used illicitly because of its heroin-like effect, and even small doses can be deadly. Fentanyl remains the deadliest drug threat facing this country, the DEA said. So, fentanyl, a lot of people are discussing fentanyl. It's a big problem. And so I want to put together a little bit of a thought piece here, a little thought experiment. Could we imagine a world where, stuff like heroin was illegal? So, let's imagine stuff like heroin is legal and regulated. Let's imagine opiates are legal and regulated. Would the fentanyl crisis have ever happened if that were the case? No. The fentanyl crisis is a manufactured problem. They made it up. The DEA and the U.S. government created this problem, created this crisis. Why? If people wanted to get high on heroin and they could go to the store, maybe they have to fill out a form, regulate it in some way, maybe make it like you have to be 25, who knows, right? There's all kinds of ways you can regulate it legally. No one would ever get fentanyl. Why? Because there wouldn't be a black market. Why? Because why would there be a black market if you could just go and get the drug you want? Many people die of fentanyl poisoning and overdose because they are trying to buy something else. And what they're getting instead is fentanyl. So let's imagine, you are a heroin addict, right? And you've been using heroin for years and years, and you know exactly what kind of dose you want to get your level of whatever, right? And then you go and buy some heroin, but turns out it's fentanyl. You do your regular dose, but it's fentanyl, not heroin, or it's heroin cut with fentanyl, whatever the potency is higher. You end up overdosing because you miscalculated it, right? So again, I just want to say the DEA and police all across the country are making a huge fucking goddamn stink about fentanyl, and it's a completely manufactured problem. Now again, let's talk about the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency. If they were to spend all of their resources on targeting fentanyl and stopping fentanyl from being, transmitted all across the United States, you know what step one of that process would be? Step one would be legalizing and regulating a substance such as heroin or opiates, so that people don't actually go to a black market drug dealer and end up getting the wrong product. And oftentimes it's not even the drug dealer's fault. Drug dealers have to get drugs from somewhere, right? Sometimes someone along the process lies to you and it results in people dying, right? So again, cry me a fucking river. The DEA and law enforcement are going to fentanyl's killing our kids. Fentanyl, blah, blah, blah. Young adults are being targeted. I don't know, man. To me, it seems like the solution here is to just legalize and regulate every drug and every type of drug, because then, if that were to happen, things like fentanyl wouldn't fall into young adults' hands. Things like fentanyl wouldn't, result in overdose deaths nearly as much, or if at all. But, again, the DEA makes money. The DEA is a Ponzi scheme. It makes money by creating these fake crises, right, that they get to pretend to manage, and then they get to have these careers in drug enforcement, right? Now, we can look at states like Oregon. States like Oregon have decriminalized possession of all drugs. You can look at the country like Portugal has decriminalized possession of all drugs. And drug overdoses and deaths completely, right? They're almost non-existent in a country like Portugal, right? And so I wonder why that is. Oh, it's because they're doing things properly to manage what people are going through. If someone is addicted to heroin, right? If you're a heroin addict and you want to stop being addicted to heroin, and your options are go through extreme withdrawal, probably end up in the hospital and die, or you just don't stop heroin because there's no way to actually do that without going to jail, right? I don't know, man. To me, it seems like if someone is addicted to a drug and they literally cannot stop, but they want to. Now, if someone doesn't want to, as long as they're not harming anyone else, I don't give a shit. But if someone wants to get off of a substance, they should be allowed and able and capable to go get the help that they need without fucking cops. Like, oh, where'd you get that from? Where'd you get we're gonna throw you in jail. Where'd you get that? Right? You know what I mean? That's just fucking crazy. It's just fucking crazy. So again, this is a manufactured crisis. The DEA and the US government could stop this crisis at any point. But to them, it's fun. They love it. They love feeling powerful and big and strong. Oh, we're the big bad DEA coming in to solve the problem. Except they've always made everything worse since the fucking founding of this institution. So fuck the DEA. All my homies hate the DEA. But Jesus fucking Christ. Like, I mean, like, my God. Like, it's just, like, again, I talk about this on my show often. But we have so many solutions to problems where it's like, we're not at the stage anymore of human society where it's like we're still figuring out, oh, how do we do this? Oh, what is the best way to go about this? We already have the answers. For stuff like drug overdoses and deaths, we already have the answer. We have the solutions. They're ready. They've been ready for years, decades. Decades that we've had the solutions to these problems, right? It's just that the people in power are like, I make more money if we don't do that. Whatever. Like the solution to climate change. We've had the solution for decades. People in power, whatever. It's like the solution for the food crisis going on in the world. Why are people starving when other people in other countries are throwing food away? I make more money if I do this. Right, again, the solutions to these major crises have been discovered, and they were discovered decades ago. It's about time that the fucking powerful in this country and in the world actually fucking, do the solutions. I don't know, man. It's weird to me. It is really strange that we live in this kind of fucked up world. I don't know, man. It's really, it kind of freaks me out. I'm not going to lie to you. But either way, the DEA manufacturing more problems, creating more problems than they solve. And let's be honest, the DEA is garbage. There's no such thing as a good DEA agent. They don't exist. There's no such thing as a good cop. They don't exist. Every situation, they make everything worse. Let's just be honest, okay? So, anyway. Legalizing doesn't necessarily totally eliminate black markets of any drug because price is still going to be a factor. Well, the thing is, like, legalizing is a term that, like for example, in California, marijuana was legalized in California, right? But the legalization process for marijuana is so fucked up that there actually were more black market marijuana sales in 2020 and 2021 than there were legal market marijuana sales because the shit is so highly taxed, right? Really only big corporations can become sellers in their price gouging, right? So it creates this room for a black market. When I say legalize a drug, I mean legalize the drug. Like, let's look at a state like Michigan. Michigan has the lowest marijuana prices in the country. Why? Because they legalized it in a pretty good way. Anyone, I haven't, studied the Michigan tax code or the weed code or whatever, all that. But all I know is compared to other states, it's got one of the best legalization programs, right? More people are more able to get involved in the process. Prices are the lowest in any legal market in the country. Why? Because they actually fucking did their work and they actually did it right. Look at a state like New Jersey, right? Which promised to legalize marijuana years ago, and just recently finally got around to it, but it's still kind of that weird big pharma cash grab kind of territory, right? So again, yeah, legalization, the way things are legalized is an extremely important thing. But obviously, I'm talking about a little bit more of a utopian kind of thing where it's, again, we already know what to do. It's just that the big and powerful refuse to do it, right? So we need to go after corporations, especially big pharma, because, you know, they buy up all these patents and then they just fucking jack up all the prices. You know what I mean? It's insane. But yeah, California's legalization is a good example of how legalization is honestly kind of garbage. Now, again, it's still better than it being illegal, right? Because, you know, let's say you buy the weed from a black market dealer. Well, okay, great, you got away with it. But now you're not going to be able to get arrested for buying or carrying weed on you, right? So, you know, it's a little bit of a different story. It's better than the alternative of it being illegal. But, you know, again, people will go like, oh, we legalized it. The work here is done, when in reality, it's not even close to done. But anyway, so that's just one example.